Welcome to Bedtime Stories. Please make sure you subscribe to get notified of new stories. And of course, share them with a friend. And now, the story of Thumbelina. There once was a poor woman who lived in a cottage. She had no husband, but she longed to have a child. One day, she visited a fairy to ask for her help. "You are a good woman," said the fairy, "so I will give you this magic seed. Plant it and water it, and you will see what you will see." The woman thanked the fairy and did as she was told. One day, then 2 days, then 3 days passed, and nothing happened. But on the 4th day, a tiny green shoot appeared, and on the 5th day, there was a flower bud with glossy pink petals wrapped tightly around its center. "What a beautiful flower you'll be," smiled the woman, and she kissed it gently. With that, the petals unfolded, and in the center of the flower was a beautiful girl, the size of a thumb. The woman clapped her hands with joy. "I will call you Thumbelina," she cried, and she laid her new child in a walnut shell bed with a rose petal quilt. Thumbelina was very happy with her mother. Then one day, while her mother was away, an ugly, slimy toad crawled into the cottage. When she saw Thumbelina sleeping in the bed, she cried, "You'd be a perfect wife for my son." She grabbed the girl and crept out of the cottage the same way she had come in. When Thumbelina woke up, she was sitting on a lily pad in the middle of a stream, with 2 warty toads staring at her. "This is your new wife," the mother said to her son. He opened his wide, toothless mouth in a grin, but all he could say was, "Croak, croak, croak." "But I don't want to marry a toad," said Thumbelina, and she started to cry. "You ungrateful girl!" The mother toad scolded her. "You'll stay here until you stop crying." The 2 toads jumped into the water and swam away. Thumbelina sobbed and sobbed. Then a fish took pity on her and nibbled through the lily pad's stem until it floated free. Thumbelina sailed gently downstream and escaped from the toads. At last she drifted to the riverbank and climbed onto dry land. Suddenly, a big brown beetle grabbed her with its claws. "Put me down," said Thumbelina. "No," said the beetle. "You must stay with me and be my friend." The beetle carried Thumbelina to a clearing. Another bigger, browner beetle was waiting for him there. He looked at Thumbelina and shook his head. "Oh, birdie, she's so ugly," said the bigger beetle. "She can't stay here." The 2 beetles argued and argued, waving their claws in the air and pulling poor Thumbelina this way and that, until at last Birdie gave in, and they let Thumbelina go. She ran off as fast as she could. Thumbelina lived in the country all summer long. She missed her mother, but had no idea how she could find her way home. So she bruised herself collecting wild berries and making friends with birds and small creatures she met. Then winter came. Thumbelina was cold and hungry and all alone. Luckily, a kind field mouse found her and invited her to stay with him in his burrow. She was so grateful that she said yes at once. Life underground was warm and snug, but Thumbelina soon missed the sunshine. And then Mouse's friend Mole asked her to marry him. "I don't want to marry Mole," cried Thumbelina. "And though I like living with you, Mouse, I miss the sunshine." "You ungrateful girl," said the mouse and the mole together. So Thumbelina sadly agreed to marry the mole, and the date was set for the following summer. Thumbelina was miserable. Then one day, as she walked through the underground tunnels, she found a swallow almost dead with the cold. She hugged the bird against herself to warm him. He slowly opened his eyes. "You have saved my life," said the swallow. "Come with me to the south, to the land of sunshine and flowers." "I cannot leave Mouse," sighed Thumbelina. "He has been so kind to me." "Then I must go alone," said the swallow, stretching his wings. "But I will return next summer. Goodbye." Then he flew away. Months passed, and the day Thumbelina had dreaded had finally arrived, the day that she would marry the mole. As she waited for Mole to arrive, the swallow appeared again. "Come with me now," he cried. "I will," said Thumbelina. So Thumbelina flew away to the south with Swallow. As she explored her new home, one especially beautiful flower opened in front of her. There, in the center, was a fairy prince, no bigger than a thumb, with butterfly wings. "Will you be my wife?" he asked at once. "I will," cried Thumbelina. So Thumbelina, wearing butterfly wings made especially for her, married the prince and became queen of the flower fairies. But she did not forget her mother, and that very day arranged for fairy messengers to deliver a letter to her and a bouquet of the most beautiful flowers she had ever seen. And the kind Thumbelina and her handsome prince lived happily ever after. Thank you for listening to Bedtime Stories. Please make sure you press subscribe to follow us for new stories and share them with a friend. If you have a suggestion for a new story, send us an email, magicmonorail@gmail.com. You can get notified of new stories on Instagram @magicmonorail. Until next time, good night. Would you like to make a podcast? Spotify has a way to let you make one easily, distribute it everywhere, and even earn money, all in one place, for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit right from your phone or computer, so you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. And video podcasts are also available on Spotify. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free. You know, ever since I discovered Spotify for Podcasters, I've enjoyed sharing my favorite stories with children around the world. If you've ever thought of starting your own podcast, download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started.